some of the most horrific things we can imagine are things that our people have actually had to live in real life.
Well, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, who I was talking about yesterday, they were being followed by police. You know that was one of those kind of stops, right? And that there are probably countless others, nameless folk in graves who were stopped on some of them back roads before there were lights, street lights, before there was, and then who do you tell? Who do you run to? Where do you get justice when the police, when the judges, the sheriff are all conspiring to deny you your safety and your rights? That is scary.
And then you can even look at the situation with Kyle Rittenhouse, the domestic terrorist who ended up shooting down at the protest in Kenosha. That law that we've referenced before, the Slave Era Casual Killing Act, which basically said that if a black person is being disciplined or reprimanded by a white person, and that black person by resisting should happen to die. I don't know how it happens. You resisted, you just happened to die as a result of you resisting. That's not considered a homicide. That's not considered a felonious homicide. It really was the law's way of giving any white person with a gun or any weapon whatsoever the ability to end our life because we resisted, and the law was going to protect them because the burden was on us to submit to the rulership or the dominance of white people. That is a 1600s era law that we are still seeing the ramifications of right now. We are going to continue to see more of that as time goes on, because that spirit has been revived such that we are going to have to either snuff it out or contend with it in real time, because we don't have the capacity to snuff it out. So
we have
interesting times ahead.
We have a president that actually says that young man was in self-defense.
That's
so
right.
If you have the leader of the free world telling people that what else could he do? He would have lost his life. Or something bad would have happened to him had he not killed those people. And those people were white, by the way, that he killed.
That's right.
So clearly
That's right.
that doesn't matter.
Well, they would have been classified as N-word lovers during the slave era, who rightfully should have, quote, lost their lives, because how dare you assert that the value of a black life is the same as that of a white life? That's a crime punishable by death.
Facts. Or race traitor. That's the other traitor to the race. 866-801-8255. Want to also tell you about Breonna Taylor, since you're saying that. Her boyfriend, apparently, according to his lawyer, was offered a plea deal to implicate Breonna Taylor in something that she did not do in order to get a better deal. The lead attorney representing Breonna Taylor's family told Louisville, said that Louisville prosecutor offered Jamarcus Glover, who is her ex-boyfriend, who's facing multiple drug-related charges, a plea deal that listed Taylor, who was shot and killed in her bed by police who came into her home with a no-knock warrant, and in March as a co-defendant in the case. So they're demonizing, much the way they're demonizing Mr. Blake, much the way they demonized Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown. They couldn't demonize little Tamir Rice because he was 12, but everybody that seems to, George Floyd, they want to bring up somebody's record and how many kids they have, but not talk about the perpetrator. So that Breonna Taylor's killer is still out, that the killer of Mr. Blake has not been brought to justice, and that we have, again, a president that has not even mentioned Mr. Blake's name, nor is he wants to call for law and order. But the reason why there's disorder or no order is because there is injustice on the streets. So fix the root cause. Stop looking at the second foul. Look at the first foul, which is police brutality, racism, and injustice, and systemic racism at that, which he says does not exist. So, yeah, we got interesting days ahead if people don't vote in November. Just going to say it.
Yeah, you're right. Let's say it. Let's keep saying it. I'm actually doing an event tomorrow night on the psychology of the black vote, like how we decide to vote and what goes into getting us excited about voting, which I think is such a vitally important conversation right now, because we don't have to go down this road. I'll be waxing poetic for forever. But the reality is, if we do not just be ready, right? Be ready to understand what it is to navigate a sundown town. So you should probably pick up a copy of the Green Book. Be ready to understand what it is when you're not allowed to go into a grocery store because the public accommodations law is no longer in play, which means that the only reason that we have integration right now, the only reason that we have the ability to go to court and sue when we're discriminated against is because of laws. And I've said before, integration requires three things to exist. Number one, a government that is willing to enforce anti-discrimination laws and policies. Number two, a social construct, a contract that says it is not good to embrace racism or to act in racist ways in public. And three, a white community that's willing to keep their racism private and at home and only something that is a subject of discussion at their dinner table. Right now, we don't have any of those three things. And so when we're talking about elections and people are trying to say, well, you got to earn my vote. All right, cool. Let them earn your vote. Who's going to be courting your vote after Trump finishes stacking the other 200 seats of the federal courts at the district and the appellate court level so that we are not able to have any redress in the courts? Who's going to be courting your votes when we have a 7-2 racist conservative majority on the Supreme Court and they are able to say, oh, we used to say that the 13th Amendment said that there cannot be any slavery unless you've been convicted of a crime. Now we're just going to undo that entire caveat provision and we're going to go back to allowing race-based slavery. Who are you going to go to and who's going to be courting your votes when we don't? During a pandemic, we're not allowed to access hospitals because now hospitals are no longer willing to allow black bodies to enter them like they have done before. Who's courting your votes when we can't get our babies delivered, when we can't go into grocery stores, when the local school district, which is led by 45 supporting school district members, because we ain't even on the school board, who's courting your votes then? So, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll be ready. Some of us going to be ready. Most of us ain't ready. And we don't. And who's paying? I don't want to know is who's paying for the next black migration. We talk about the Great Migration, like black people just decided they wanted to see the rest of America. No, they had to flee. They owned homes, many of them owned land, many of them. They had to flee that land. Who respected the title and the ownership that they had for that property? No one, not the courts, which were stacked by racists. So who's paying for the next great black migration? We going to the next, famous don't vote rappers' house. We gonna stay at their mansion. They gonna put us up. How are we getting there? Who paying for the gas? We can't stop at the gas stations anymore because that's owned by Bubba the Racist, and Bubba the Racist is no longer required by the government, the law, or social construct in order to serve us. So where are we going? How are we getting there? Just let me know. I just need the plan. That's all. I'm cool.
I looked at the 19 families that got together and bought land in Georgia. And I said, look at Earthseed. Now we need the tech people to come together and build a Star Wars defense system so that they could be protected from folk. Because, they're going to have a piano, and somebody going to be mad about the piano and want to burn down the town. All right, 866-801-8255. And finally, New York City was set to open their schools. It's one of the largest school districts. I think it is the largest school district in America citywide. Bill de Blasio, I think it's, how many, 1.1 million kids in the New York City school system, set to open September 10th, but it's been pushed back to the 21st, last minute. So
remote will start, right. So remote learning will start September 16th, and then those who are doing a hybrid plan will be able to start doing the hybrid reentry to schools on September 21st. Every parent who has been paying attention, every educator who's been paying attention predicted this was going to happen. I actually said they were going to get to the day before school and then announce that they weren't going to start the next day. But they did one better. They got a week before school was supposed to start. At the end of the day, the virus determines the rules right now, not bureaucrats. The virus is determining what's happening. And if you are not ready, then you are not ready. I'm glad they pushed it back, but it really does speak to the challenges that are going to go into having an effective school year this year. And black parents need to know that ahead of time.
Amen. And Tyler Perry is officially a billionaire. So Forbes says, good for him. Listen, the man was living in his car. If anybody thinks it's not possible, and this is why, a lot of us say America's the greatest country in the world, because it's the only country where a person can come from a place like he has, and Steve Harvey, living in their cars to become everything. And Tyler Perry literally built this on black people, on doubling down on black people, on serving black people, going into the places nobody wanted to go into, and built it from scratch, using his own money, his own ingenuity, and everything. You can say what you want about the quality of the content or what have you, but what you cannot say is that this man did not have a vision and is executing it to perfection, to the point where after COVID, Tyler Perry is probably going to be one of the few people to have nonstop movies and television shows for for a decade or more because he's
That's
not
right.
stopped filming because he has his own set, where the Black Panther was filmed, by the way. Thank you for him and the Black Panther being filmed on his set in Atlanta. But he was able to decovitize his whole entire production and kept going through this whole process where Hollywood couldn't figure it out. So I'm just going to say congratulations, sir. And may you provide the blueprint for there to be thousands and millions of others to follow in your footsteps, because I think this is the way, the truth, and the light. I said
You know
that.
what he
Okay.
doesn't have? You know what he does not have?
What does he
An
have?
Oscar. He doesn't have the accolades that most Black actors are and Black Hollywood folk are supposed to go after. He doesn't have any of that. But what he does have is autonomy. He has the ability to greenlight what he needs to greenlight, and he has the connections that what he can't greenlight, he can get greenlit on somebody else's life. Like, he has self-determined. He has Coochie Chakalia capacity. No Oscars, doesn't need them. Does not need them. There's a message there for the rest of us.
Not for the rest of us. and you know, it's so insidious that somebody would dangle something in front of you. And you know, we got hashtags, you know, where we begging people to acknowledge who we are, acknowledge our greatness. And meanwhile, they're pimping off of our talent and making money, right? And he was like, I'm a billionaire. Who cares? Yeah, who cares? And this is like, you know, you're building up these accolades like it matters. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that power, that ability, that autonomy that you talk about. And yeah, a lot of us are chasing things because they make us chase them. And that includes labels. You know, Mr. Fendi ain't put nothing in our community. Mr. Gucci, Mr. Hermes, Mr. Red Bottom Louboutin. None of them have put Mr. Nike. Maybe Nike's done some things. Maybe Nike has done some things. But the rest of them, what are we putting money into? Why are we chasing these things? Why do we want these things? Because they make us want these things. But we gotta have critical thinking, and that's what I really appreciate about what Miss Muhammad said. You know, to teach a kid to question why. Why do I want this? Why am I doing this? Why are you telling me this? Is the greatest gift we can give them.
That reminds me that one of the things my husband always says is that, you know, Malcolm X didn't learn how to read for a grade, right? Harriet Jacobs didn't learn how to read and write for an academic credential, right? Frederick Douglass wasn't trading biscuits with the local white boys to learn how to read, to get any, you know, honor system. They did it because they recognized that education was going to have a direct impact on their quality of life. It represented an access to freedom. So we're talking to Black children who are seeing what all the rest of us see when we look outside our window. If we're talking to Black children and trying to educate Black children who are experiencing all the things that we as Black people experience, you damn well better have something more motivating than just getting a grade. Like, you really better be able to tie their education to a sense of what they're experiencing and make it relevant for where they are at, and give them, allow it to be something that puts them on a road to having better options in life that is centering them as Black children. Because our best scholars were not doing it for an A. They were doing it because it meant freedom for our people.
Nothing, Smith? Nothing? Not a dick. Okay, fine. All right, let me I just wait for something, you know.